This is Reno's Morning News with Ross and Monica on News Talk 780 KOH. Today's Newsmaker segment is presented by the Diamond Vault. We sell diamonds for less. Why? So you can hear her say yes.
KOH News Time, 8:38. Good morning. I'm Monica J.
And I'm Ross Mitchell. And, of course, over the last 2.5-3 weeks, we've had incidents where multiple people were killed or injured through attacks, firearms, and knives, which is rather unusual. It makes it it's a little more personal. But the idea that one person can manage to stab 20 people. Mm-hmm. Of course, he had 2 knives. And then we have the shooting yesterday in Overland Park, Kansas. And joining us this morning is Joey Walker of Leading Edge Threat Mitigation, an expert in personal security and training. And Joey, good morning. Welcome to Reno's Morning News once again.
Good morning once again, Ross.
All right. And, of course, is there, it's almost like it's getting down to the luck of the draw. Is there anything one can do to prevent being a victim, or at least, as you say, leading edge threat mitigation, mitigate the chances of you becoming victimized by these random acts?
Absolutely. There's a couple things I'd like to cover, and that is that one of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get different results. And
right.
We continue to have organizations do the same things over and over again and expect, well, why isn't it working? Well, it's not working because it's not designed to work that way. So a different approach is needed so that citizens don't have to depend on anyone else other than themselves for safety. So whether it's a mall, a school, a movie theater, or anywhere else in public, the reality is that you can't rely on someone else to completely protect you or your loved ones because they've demonstrated that they can't.
When you say organizations doing the same, who are you referring to? Are you talking about like city governments or any
entity that claims that they're out there trying to do something to protect the average citizen? Because, for example, I'm unaware of any case in the United States where a fortified entry has prevented an active shooter case.
Mm-hmm. So
the guy in Newtown, Connecticut proved that. We've had cases in school shootings throughout the United States that have proved that as well. But we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars thinking that, well, we're going to do this. And in my estimation, it's the low-hanging fruit approach to doing this, to providing the training that really isn't training at all. And they're teaching people to hide in closets, and actually you're just teaching them to be sheep.
This shelter-in-place concept I've never quite understood.
Well, I understand sheltering in place from a perspective of if you have an individual or individuals that are unable or unwilling to defend themselves or to aid in their own defense. But when you have capable and competent people who actually can be taught and provided instruction and can be have that training fortified on a regular and consistent basis, those individuals can protect themselves and can aid in their own safety.
And where do we begin?
So, again, we have to look at providing reality-based training for individuals that focuses on how the average citizen can properly defend themselves against an armed assailant, either with a gun or, as we've just seen recently, with a knife. And those are the kind of things that I provide in my classes, and I've done that just within the last couple of weeks at one other entity that I've just trained recently, that shows a different approach and a different paradigm shift to just waiting around for the guy.
Joe, you're talking about relying or hoping that other people will protect you. Would you agree with the statement that, law enforcement, police officers don't carry guns to protect you?
They have to protect themselves,
right?
Because if an officer cannot protect themselves getting to a scene, then how can they be of service to any citizen?
Right.
So, and the deadly force laws are written to be able to protect the citizen, the individual, or another person against the threat of deadly force or serious bodily harm.
Yeah, if someone's attacking me, the police doesn't even know that
They're not
yet.
There yet.
How is that going to matter if they're not armed for my safety?
Well, the saying goes that, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. And that's not any indication whatsoever or indictment on our police officers because they're doing the best they can.
It's a physical
fact. They can't
fact.
be there all the time.
It's a matter of physics. I mean, you can't
we can't all have armed bodyguards like,
right.
Reid and Obama and Michelle.
Exactly. And that's why it's important for individuals to know that they can do something, that there is training out there that actually can teach them what to do against an armed assailant other than hiding in a closet or, in one organization that I've seen, throwing staplers at a shooter.
Joey, let's talk about weapons of opportunity. Should people be taught more about that?
Absolutely. In the training I provide, I look at whatever's in the environment that they have. And sometimes those environments can be fortified by bringing things in from their own garden from their own field. I'm sure if you could walk out to the closest field where you have targets of opportunity that you can use as improvised weapons that are 100% legal. I'm sure if you looked in your office environment, there are things that are within your office environment that are 100% legal. And again, that's the kind of thing that I provide instruction on, is how to make sure that that individual survives, to be able to do everything they need to do to survive an incident.
Let's talk about companies, for example. I won't name any specifics, but I think we all know what I'm talking about. We talk about a national chain of convenience stores that company policy prohibits employees from arming up. And when they have and actually saved lives, of course, they've been immediately fired. Are those companies, they say they're worried about liability, but are they perhaps putting themselves at greater liability from a risk management standpoint by not allowing their employees to protect themselves?
I'm sure that every entity that has a risk manager is looking at this and has looked at this or has briefed in this in some respect. And the question is going to be for them is, which check is going to be larger? The check because they had the information, they chose nothing to do nothing about it, or the check from saying, well, okay, we fired this guy and he wants to get his job back. So they're going to look at which one do I want to pay. And I think the current philosophy in a lot of these agencies is that if they just say no firearms, no weapons, no contact, no engagement whatsoever with this person, or we're going to fire you, okay, we'll take that route, and if something happens, then we'll go ahead and pay that check. But I think that when organizations continue to see that people are going to be sued based upon not taking the appropriate steps, and it's going to be about what did you know, when did you know it, and what within reason did you do about it.
And in the meantime, as we are up against the clock here, for those who would like to know more about your training and what your company offers at Leading Edge Threat Mitigation, you have a website that explains pretty much all of it, right?
Absolutely. It's at leadingedgeclasses.com. And once again, I just wish everyone to stay safe, and you've got to do whatever you've got to do in order to make sure that happens, because the organizations can't do it for you anymore. All
right. Joey Walker, thank you again for being with us this morning on News Talk 780 KOH.
On air, online, on demand. News Talk 780 KOH. News Talk.